How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews, back with a little bit of Two Roads Brewing's Area 2 project in the form of their Kriek, in the form of their Black Raspberry. Yeah, I got these in a beer mail courtesy of my boy Steven. Thank you very much, brother. Love me some Two Roads, love me some Kriek, love me some Framboise, or Black Raspberry. I don't know what, they called this a Kriek. They didn't call this a Framboise. I assume because it's black raspberry as opposed to regular raspberry. That's my guess. Very similar styles of beer. You're basically looking just that cherry versus raspberry thing going on. So I figured I'd do it as side by side because I want to. So here we go. This is their Kriek Lambic style ale. They call it Lambic style. So 7% alcohol by volume. It says a metric ton of Michigan-grown Montmorency cherries mesmerize the slip-smacking Kriek, divided up. That equals 4 pounds of cherries in each gallon of profoundly tart deep crimson brew. A wild yeast fermentation aging for 2 years in French oak delivers subtle funk accompanied by intense notes of sour cherry. Santé. Bottle 863. They have a year on this. You would assume they'd put a year on this, right? I don't see one. Yeah. Anyway. Black Raspberry Lambic Style Ale. Wild ale brewed with black raspberries. This one is 6.7. It says here, almost 2 years in American and French oak barrels. This brew is made with over 4 pounds of European black raspberries per gallon, yielding a beautiful ink-like appearance. It strikes a perfect balance of lambic sourness with dark berry fruits. And this be bottle number, we have no idea because they didn't write it on there. Label-wise, fantastic. I love what Area 2 does with their kind of labeling and styling and all that kind of fun stuff. Cork and cage, gold foil, the whole nine. Yes, we're off to a very pretty start. I am about 15 minutes away from recording my first podcast of the new season. It's been about a year and a half off because of COVID. I'm chomping at the bit to do them again, so I'm going to do them remotely. We're just about to record one. So I figured I wanted to drink something nice for the recording. So I figured pop these off right before. A little bit more carbonation on this sucker over here. And then let's see what we got going on. There we go. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought this would be a little bit darker. I mean, it's probably spot on what a Kriek should look like, so I don't know why I thought it was going to be a little bit darker. And that black raspberry, they said inky. They were definitely correct. So, I mean, if you look at these two beers, they look exactly what you'd expect. Is basically what I just said, and I'm going to repeat myself on it, is that rich kind of Jerry Juice kind of color over here, a little bit of reddish and that pretty much white frothy tinge of reddish kind of head to it. Over here in the black raspberry side of things, Merlot, grapey, big, rich, dark kind of color, strawberry, quick kind of head. A little bit bigger head over here. I think that's more of an aggressive pour on my part than the beer itself, but it's dissipating pretty quickly. But yeah, off to a very pretty start on both of these suckers. Give them a whirl. They look quite nice. Yeah. Let's dive into this Kriek. That smells awesome. Fresh cherry spin. Honestly, they talk about this aggressive tartness in it. I don't really get that on the nose. Again, tartness not necessarily smell, but you can kind of perceive the elements of tartness from other aspects of what you're getting on the nose. And it just comes off, as a rich, fleshy, with the seeds and everything, stems involved, kind of cherryness. Nothing overly sweet here by any stretch of imagination. And just a rich cherryness with that little bit of soft vanilla, almost adding a confectionery note. It gives you kind of drips and drabs of what you'd expect from a shortcake, a cherry shortcake kind of thing going on here. It doesn't get that vanilla, but there's that little hint of that in there. So it smells really, really nice. Earthy, organic, nothing synthetic about it. Let's dive over here in the black raspberry. Sweet. This is going to be a much sweeter beer over here. You can just get this bursting kind of jammy, almost jelly-like component, the way the raspberries kind of come off. It's still that fruit forwardness, but there's a much bigger sweetness going to be over here. At least that's the way it's perceived off of what it's giving me on the nose. Not nearly as much vanilla, not nearly as much... this wasn't tart, but there's more tartness perceptually in this one over here. But I think that's just the sweetness on this is big and bumped up. So this is more of a confectionery, jammy kind of... raspberry over here. Over here we have organic kind of fleshy, pulpy, like the what do they call it? Mustiness. Like if you're gonna do some kind of grape fermentation and grape kind of jamminess, it's that kind of like freshly smashed kind of cherries over here. So they smooth. That's a word. That means both. Yeah, both smell beautiful. Let's dive in. Cheers. There's a decent tartness here, and a absolute gobsmacking amount of oak in here. You get a big tartness. You actually get a decent sweetness from here. That is what really keeps this beer from being just way too oak forward. I mean, that oak in here is super rich, super tannin. Not nearly as much vanilla as I thought there was going to be in the nose, but I think that's just more because that oak tannin is so gigantic on here. It just rips everything dry with how much oak is coming off of this beer. But it's still, I'm betting in the second sip it's going to be a little bit more balanced. It usually is. And it lets that kind of cherry come through. The tartness is nice. It wants to be a little bit of cheek pulling, but it doesn't get all the way to there. I think this is going to be a great beer after this one with how dry this one is. If this shows that kind of sweetness with that level of oak, I think there's going to be a nice kind of interplay between the two. But it's really tasty. I mean, each sip gets you a little bit more acclimated and lets the beer kind of a little bit more rather than being overpowered by the aggressive oak character. I think it's delicious. Over to this sucker. So yeah, cherries all the way. Huge oak characteristic. Vanilla not as big. Just short of cheek-pulling tartness. I dig. Very much a Kriek, actually. If I'm going to drink this blind, I would be like, I think this is from overseas. I think it's actually from over there as opposed to an American-born Kriek. Let's dive in this sucker. Sweeter, but not nearly as sweet as I thought it was going to be. The funny part is that this, not funny, but interesting, that's a better word I could use. This gave me huge cherry in the nose. And while the cherry was still kind of huge, it wasn't the leader in the clubhouse. That oak overtook it, but it was still very much cherry forward. What black raspberry I got over here, like I said, it was a little bit jammier, a little bit more sweeter. But it wasn't as aggressive. It wasn't as big and as bold as the way the cherry came on over here on the Kriek. This is epically black raspberry forward in a more organic kind of, non-sweetened kind of way. It's sweeter than over here, but I think that's the case for raspberries in general, so it kind of makes sense. I like the balance over here a little bit better. I think the oak level over here is probably close to the oak level over here. It's just this is a little bit more robust in the fruit side of things. A little bit more aggressive in that raspberry. A little bit more sweeter. Again, not a sweet beer, but, we're not talking like, what is that Arclight beer that I had not too long ago, or we're talking like the Belgian Wisconsin Red from New Glarus. It's not that level of sweetness, not even close. But it's skosh less tart, skosh more sweet. And maybe I got acclimated a little bit to the kind of tannin over here to where the tannin isn't nearly as aggressive over here. Much more balanced beer. Even though it was a little bit louder in other portions, I think it needed that to kind of hold up to that kind of oak level. Not that they're going to be exactly the same level of oak tannin. There's, two different beers, two different barrels. I don't know if these are right around the same time they were made. Who knows? But, yeah. Listen, they're both beautiful. I am Team Kriek. That's what I do. It's my favorite style of lambic. Other ones I really do dig, but I mean, Kriek is pretty much my jam. I can get down with framboise. Historically, they tend to be a little bit sweeter, maybe a little bit too sweet for me, especially if you dip into the Lindemann side of things. I'm Team raspberry over here. Yeah, I like this. They're both really, really well done. But just the level of black raspberry here, which is one of my favorite kind of flavors. You know what? I was going to say it's one of my favorite kind of flavors. when it comes to flavored items, as far as like, sodas or gums or any of that stuff, number one is cherry. So take that out of the equation because it's one of my favorite ones, but cherry is my favorite flavor of anything. Red is the best flavor. But yeah, it's the best thing I could say about this is it's aggressively gentle, where this is just, the oak just is a little bit too big for the beer to hold up to everything, to make it, a little bit more balanced. And it's that balance over here that really kind of brings it home and makes me enjoy it quite a bit more. Two great beers, two great examples of this kind of style of beer. Very much traditional. I mean, Phil Markowski, obviously you're going to find the traditional side of things on these beers. But epically well done. Really tasty, and honestly, two of the better versions of a Kriek and a black raspberry or framboise I've had in quite some time, to be honest with you. A little bit young, pretty aggressive, you know what I mean? A little bit sharp, not that it's individual flavors, but it's not all melded into one thing. Time will do that with these bottles, but very, very tasty stuff. Blasphemy, though. We got to do it. I know it's blasphemy. Somebody out there is clutching on to their Sen Valley tour guide right now and just wants to punch me in the face for doing that. So blend a little bit of Kriek, a little bit of black raspberry. Let's dive in. Cheers. They're better by themselves. Take the best things of this, which is that raspberry, and it just kind of gets lost a little bit when you blend them like this. And take that oak tannin has mild over this. That's nice, but you don't get that cherry component from it. So this is just more of a kind of like a homogenized mixture of the two. But anytime we do these side by sides and something's relatively similar, they gotta be the old Cuvies. And don't mix these. So there you go. It's called science. We do it for you. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little review. Are these some of the better Belgian-influenced lambic style ales that I've had as of late? Actually, yes. I enjoy them quite a bit. I mean, like I said, Phil Markowski, Two Roads, so you know you're going to get a really great, well-done beer. And these are very much the case of being tasty AF jams. Valued availability, no idea. Steven, you're going to have to let me know what's what on this sucker. And leave you with, if you like what we like these beers. And if you like Kriek, you like framboise, more specifically black raspberry, because it is that. It's not red raspberry. And you like your kind of Belgian-style lambic fruited ales, then you're going to dig these. So there you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it down there. If you want to talk about it, Massive Beers. If you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massif. If you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Two Roads and their Area 2 project right now. And hope to see you next time. Cheers.